Okay. Okay, welcome everybody to First Chapter Fridays. My name is Sarah K. Peters, your friendly neighborhood audiobook narrator, tuning in today to read a historical fiction set in the Civil War era um, called Freedom's Trail, Always and Forever by C.W. Harper. And this First Chapter Fridays, for those who may not know, this is where I'm live reading a chapter from a book that an indie author has sent me and asked me to read. This is not a book that I'm narrating the full audiobook of. I just get the first chapter and I do my reading based off the information I have there. Some of the books are like really great casting for me. Some of them I would, if an author approached me to narrate, I'd be like, I actually have a better narrator who would be more appropriate for this. This is one of those because the lead character is a mixed race woman who is it's about her journey freeing herself from slavery. So that's not my appropriate demographic. But for today, this is about sharing stories, sharing indie authors, sharing human voice narration. So that's what we're reading today. And yeah, so this is a live narration. Again, I'm not recording this. If I were recording this and I made a stumble, I would obviously go back to make sure it's word perfect. Um, if I have a little stumble today, I'm just going to pause, go back, and then just start on, or if it's a little simple, I might just keep on going. It just depends on my mood, how I'm feeling in the moment. So that's that. Without further ado, we'll get into the story. Hi, Christine. Um, and yeah, we'll just get into the story. It'll be about, I think, about 18 minutes read today. So here we go. Freedom's Trail by C.W. Harper. 1. 16 September 1823. Miss Sarah! Miss Sarah, come quick! There's been an accident at the logging site and Master John is done hurt real bad. Sarah ran and quickly climbed into the buggy with Zeb, not even taking time to grab her bonnet. Take me to him. Where are the boys? They be with Master John. A tree done fell and has him trapped underneath it. It looks real bad, Miss Sarah. The short buggy ride to the logging camp seemed to take days, even with Zeb driving the horses as fast as he dared. They arrived They arrived to find a flurry of panicked activity as John Jr. and Reese were sawing furiously at the tree, pinning their father. Sarah ran to her husband of 34 years and saw that the tree covered him and his waist to the feet. His eyes were closed. Her youngest son, Ahab, looked up at her. Ma, we just about got this tree ready to move. He looked down. Papa, Ma's here. John's eyes opened, but he stared straight through his wife. Sarah. Yes, dear, it's me. I'm hurt bad. I'm not going to make it out of this one. Tears pooled in Sarah's eyes, and she hoped he could not see them. John, don't talk like that. We're going to get this tree off of you and take you home. I've already sent Zeb for the doctor. For the first time, John seemed to focus on Sarah. He reached for her and cringed in pain. Sarah, God has forgiven me. Can you? Of course. I forgave you years ago. I don't understand why you did it, but I forgave you. I forgive you. John smiled and looked at his wife. You are still the prettiest girl in Tennessee. The sun through your hair makes you look like an angel. John closed his eyes, swallowed, and opened them again. I can't feel my legs, and I'm getting real cold all of a sudden. Just hold on, sweetheart. The doctor will be here soon. Sarah looked around as if the doctor would appear out of thin air. Sarah? Yes, John, I'm here. I love you, my sweet Sarah. Sarah took John's ice-cold hand in hers. I love you too, my love. Just then the boys finished sawing the tree and were ready to move it off their father. Ahab, help us move this tree off Papa. Sarah squeezed John's hand. John, the boys are getting this tree off of you. The doctor will be here soon and everything will be fine. The boys moved the tree and ran back to his side to find their mother. The boys moved the tree and ran back to his side to find their mother in tears. She looked up at them. As soon as the tree came off his legs, he turned ash white and stopped breathing. He's gone. Tears streamed down the new widow's face, as well as the faces of her 3 sons. Let's get him home. 18 September, 1823. While Sarah and her oldest daughter Rebecca prepared John's body for the wake and burial, the slaves prepared the house. All of the curtains were closed and the mirrors were covered. The clocks were stopped and wouldn't be restarted until after the funeral. Slaves placed scented candles and flowers around the house, especially in the room where the body would lie, to help hide the scent of death. Amanda glanced up as Ahab came in from the barn where men constructed the coffin. Amanda, where's your ma? I need to ask her something. She's in the kitchen making dinner for everybody. What do you need to ask Mama? None of your concern, girl. Mind your place. Ahab walked into the kitchen and was relieved to find Delilah there alone. Morning, Delilah. What you cooking for dinner? Sure does smell good. Delilah looked at the 16-year-old young man and raised her eyebrows. Ahab rarely spoke to her, and he was being all friendly and talkative. Fried chicken, taters, and greens. Some of your mama's favorites. She needs to eat. Can't have her wasting away and falling out now, can we? How long have you been with this family now, Delilah? I can't remember a time when you weren't here. Near on 20 years now, ever since Master Henry passed. Why are you so full of questions today, Ahab? I was just wondering if you had Amanda before you came here. That's all. Amanda is only 10 years old. You know that. Delilah looked at Ahab. What you getting at, Master Ahab? Delilah used the title on purpose to reinforce the difference between herself and the young man. Who is Amanda's pa? Ahab blurted out the question, and then added, I mean, which of the slave men is her pa? Is he still here? That is my business, and my business only. Amanda doesn't even know who her pa is. Would you mind letting the family know that dinner will be ready by the time they get all cleaned up and ready? I need to check on Amanda. She's in the parlor, readying it for the lying in. Master Ahab, try to get your mama to eat. She listens to you. Delilah stared into the parlor to find Amanda. What did it matter who her father was? I'll start that again. Delilah started into the parlor to find Amanda. What did it matter who her father was? Even if it was that no-good scoundrel lying in the parlor surrounded by flowers. Delilah muttered to herself, got what he deserved for what he'd done. You did a fine job preaching John's funeral, James. Sarah smiled and added, makes me proud to be your mother-in-law. John was a fine man, and preaching his service was the least I could do to honor his memory. Rebecca is taking his death pretty hard. She loved her pa. Sarah leaned forward in her chair. That brings me to another thing I need to discuss with you. Sarah wrung her hands and looked away, and then back at her son-in-law. I need to cover some debt of John's, and thought that selling a couple of slaves would cover it. Would you be interested in buying Delilah and her daughter to help Rebecca out around the house and with the kids? That keeps them in the family. John would want them to stay in the family. He inherited Delilah from his pa. I don't know, Miss Sarah. We don't have any slaves, and I don't really care to. As a minister of the gospel, some people frown upon my owning slaves. James, I understand how you feel, but Rebecca doesn't have any help at the house, and with the 3 little ones, she is quite overwhelmed. Sarah could tell her argument was winning him over. You could always call them servants. James stood for a moment, thinking it over. That's fine with me, so long as Rebecca doesn't mind. James looked at his mother-in-law as she visibly relaxed and sat back in her chair. It will give Sarah a nice little playmate, and it'll give little Sarah a nice playmate, and Rebecca help with John and Nancy. Thank you, James. I trust you to take care of the details. Sarah rose to leave the room. I will tell them to pack their belongings. You can leave for your place. They can leave for your place tomorrow. Sarah looked exhausted, but also relieved. It's been a trying day. I think I will lie down for a bit before supper. Of course. James rose to leave the room and allow his mother-in-law her privacy. I need to see Rebecca and the girls. Send one of the boys over to get me if you need anything. Delilah closed the door after she listened, quietly. Miss Sarah and James had no idea she heard their conversation from the next room. She wouldn't start packing until Miss Sarah talked to her. No need to get caught eavesdropping. She was sold again, like livestock or unwanted furniture. It just wasn't right. But at least she was taking her daughter with her, and they would not be separated like so many families were. Sarah laid back on the sofa, resting her head on a needlework pillow of her own making. She thought back to the time before the trouble began. Back when she and Delilah would spend hours together making her a new dress or styling her hair to look special for John. At times, he did not treat her as he ought. No, she would not think on those times, only the good times. She and Delilah were almost friends, as much as a mistress and her slave could be. She confided things to Delilah that she would never tell another soul, like the fact that John became distant and mulatto babies started appearing on the farm. They didn't have many slaves, but the ones they owned seemed to be having much lighter-skinned babies than expected. These babies were sold with their mothers, or soon after being weaned. Sometimes the slaves were sold while still pregnant to get a better price or, as Sarah expected, to hide the parentage of the offspring. She managed to turn a blind eye until John focused his attentions on young Delilah. As her personal servant, Delilah was in and out of their bedroom, and John made sure she caught him naked a few times. He called it a joke whenever Sarah got angry. She pushed him away and blamed headaches and night sweats for her lack of interest. But when Delilah came up pregnant, she and John fought, and he claimed Delilah had bewitched him, and he wasn't to blame. She would not allow Delilah or her baby to be sold as the others, but she banished Delilah to the gardens and farmyard, transferring her anger at John onto Delilah and the child. When the child was born, she came out as white as pure driven snow. Finally, that woman would be out of her house and her bastard child with her. Maybe now she could forget John's betrayal and just mourn his passing. Tears started anew as she said quietly, "John, how could you?" 6 November, 1823. Life at the Kennan farm was definitely not what Amanda expected. She had no assigned chores and was allowed to play all day with Sarah, the eldest child, unless she was at her lessons. Sarah was 2 years her junior and was not at all a spoiled child, as she helped care for her younger siblings as much as Amanda and Delilah. She could almost forget that her playmate owned her except for the small things that constantly reminded her. Sarah had dresses made from fine linen and silk, lined with lace, while Amanda wore homespun. She and Mamma were not allowed to eat in the dining room, but in the kitchen, where they prepared the food. The family had rooms in the main house, whereas Amanda and Delilah had quarters in the loft of the detached kitchen. This was an advantage now that the weather was getting colder. They wouldn't have any trouble keeping warm. Amanda looked out from her hiding place under the porch and admired the color of the trees this year. Warm days and frosty nights added to the splendor, according to Master James. She closed her eyes and let the sun warm her face. This was a beautiful day, more than likely one of the last of the year. Soon snow would fall and would soon snow would fall and cold would take over for the next several months. Had Sarah forgotten they were playing hide and seek? Maybe she should make a noise to remind her to find her. Found you! So you did. You are so good at this game. Amanda looked at the position of the sun. We need to go in. It's almost lunchtime. The sound of the horse hoofs caught the girl's attention. Looks like Mr. Fuller. He must be here for Pa. The man rode up to the girls and dismounted. Sarah, where's your father? I have an urgent matter to discuss with him. I'm not sure, Mr. Fuller. Ma's in the house. Amanda looked at Mr. Fuller as she took Sarah's hand. Come on, Sarah. We can go see if he's in the barn. The sharp, burning pain in her face and the ringing in her ears, along with the taste of dirt in her mouth, made Amanda aware that she had been slapped to the ground. Sarah's screams echoed in her ears. How dare you address your mistress in such a manner? She is Miss Sarah or mistress to you. Amanda curled into a ball to protect herself from the kick she knew was coming. The man stumbled as he drew his leg back, and a bucket suddenly appeared at his feet. Reverend Kennan smiled at the man standing over Amanda. What are you doing, Ephraim? He helped Amanda to her feet and examined the bruise already appearing on her face as well as her bloody lip. It appeared her left eye would be swollen shut soon. Just teaching this disrespectful wench a lesson in manners. He jabbed a finger in Amanda's face, almost touching her. She flinched and drew closer to the Reverend. She didn't address Miss Sarah properly and dared to make eye contact with me. Unacceptable behavior for a... Sarah, take Amanda into the house so your ma and Delilah can tend to her face. Pa, Amanda didn't do anything. She just... Get her in the house. Now. Yes, Pa. When the girls were in the house, the Reverend turned to the red-faced man at his back. Ephraim, you had no right to come on my property and abuse my servant. But she disrespected me and your daughter. I will deal with that in my own way. Don't let her get too familiar with little Sarah. Those creatures must be controlled and kept in their place. They are as dangerous as snakes. James took a deep breath and released it. How can I help you today, Ephraim? We need you to perform a marriage ceremony as soon as possible. Our Rachel and Willie Brown are in a bit of trouble and need to be married soon. The Reverend had heard the gossip about Rachel Fuller possibly being pregnant. It seemed her father was late to the party. I can do it Sunday after church, either at the church or at your farm. I'll see what the wife prefers. I never liked that boy, and now he's going to be my son-in-law. Ephraim mounted his horse and turned to leave. Thank you, Reverend. And remember to control that girl, or you'll regret it. James went into the house to check on Amanda. I don't think I'm the one with control problems, he said to himself, shaking his head. The end. That's the end of chapter 1. So again, this book is called, Freedom's Trail, Always and Forever by C.W. Harper. I know it's on available on Amazon and other places. I'll find the links and I'll link it when I post the reel and on the story if you're interested in checking out C.W. Harper's works. Thank you for joining in. We'll be back again next Friday for more live narration. If you are an indie author and have a book that you would like me to read for First Chapter Fridays, please find the link in my bio. It's in my link tree. And just fill out that Google form and we'll get you in the queue. Thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you, Christine. Oh, thank you so much for the kind word. Thank you, Bob. Oh, and a crazy cat woman. I'm a crazy cat woman too. So I love it. Thank you for coming in. And we'll see you all next Friday.